Hey guys, it's Dragon Ball for Life here. Today I'm back with another Cobra Kai video. In my last video, I talked about Robby's fight versus Miguel and my problems with him, attacking his injured spot. I know a lot of people argue that, Miguel, what Miguel did wasn't wrong, it wasn't against the rules. I do think it wasn't against the rules, and normally attacking somebody's, injured spot, or if somebody gets hurt and attacking that's normal, but in that case, it just felt like it was different. But that was for the last video. This video, I'm going to be talking about Robby versus Hawk's fight, because there was also quite a lot of bit of controversy about who won and who should have won, and the direction it went, because they themselves even admitted that they had like two different scripts on which way it could have gone. They were saying that it could have the original draft was it would have been I think it would have been Robby, and even Tanner Buchanan even mentioned it, that he expected himself to win in that tournament, because I think around the first draft was that, but then they changed it up towards like the end of the production of that season, and they changed it to having Hawk win it. So even the show writers themselves weren't too sure on who would win between these two. They were kind of going back and forth. So it's not as definitive as a lot of people might assume it is. Also, I want to mention, I forgot in my last video, the Robby and Miguel one, I did say I was going to talk about, the whole point system based stuff in karate tournaments, and how it doesn't really relate to, a real fight. Or it does relate to a certain extent with because it's still a fighting aspect. There's still fighting in it, but I don't think it correlates 100% to a real life fight or a street fight like you would see. But yeah, I forgot to mention that, so sorry for that. I'll mention it. I'll actually explain it in this video. I think I'll explain it before I even get into the analysis itself, because I feel like a lot of people misconstrued this whole notion of, if somebody can beat somebody in a tournament like this, that means that they will be stronger than them, or just beat somebody in a fight. It does indicate something, but to say completely it states that will be the case in just a street fight without rules isn't really realistic, So I'll begin to that. But first, follow me on Twitter, and just check up on me. We can have discussions on there. I don't mind talking to you guys about anything you want to talk about. Also, if you guys want to suggest any videos you want from me, whether it's Dragon Ball related or whatever, or what I should be doing to make my channel better for you guys, I'm open to any suggestions. So sorry for the hair. It sometimes gets in my way. But yeah, let's get into the fight analysis itself. I just rewatched the fight itself. I went on YouTube. I searched up the whole fight clip and stuff between him and Robby, because if I'm being honest, I did kind of forget some of the stuff in their fight. I forgot some of the exchanges they had, and I really just want to refresh my memory before I just say something and it might be incorrect. So now the thing about this argument in the tournament is, the biggest problem obviously was the time limit. Once when they hit that 3-minute time limit and they went to the sudden death, that's where a lot of people came with their arguments. Because some people said, oh, Robby would have won it because he had what's the thing called, Hawk, in a position where he could have taken him out, but he saw Kenny on the side, and he was like, he just was contemplating what he was doing, and then he just stopped for a moment. And other people say, well, if the timer didn't run out, then Hawk would have won, because here he had him on the ground. Now I'm going to get into all that stuff, because I did realize some interesting details. Now, the first whole half of the fight with the 3-minute stuff, I found out that apparently that is not true. The whole, if he did get the hit. First of all, there's a couple of things that are more complex for it. One, the fact that he had him on the ground didn't mean that he was going to just be the first one to hit him. Because, yeah, he did have the vantage point standing above him, holding him down and ready to strike him. But it's not like, it's not like Robby was not in a defensive or an offensive position himself, because he also had his fist up. So, to be honest, it could have gone either way. I know a lot of people, when they see it in that perspective where somebody's standing over somebody else about to punch them, even if the other person on the ground is, in some type of defensive position, it looks more like the person that's standing above them would be more likely to, get a hit on them. But in fights, it's never that simple, or never that basic. So even if he did have him on the ground, and even if he did have the vantage point, that doesn't mean that he would have hit him first or had the initial strike. who knows, Robby could have hit him back. So I still think there's more of an argument and discourse there that a lot of people are just not acknowledging or trying to act like that's not the case, because it would have been one thing if he had him pinned down and he didn't get his guard up, but he had his guard up right there and he was ready to strike back. So who knows? It could have been a situation where, Hawk is about to punch down at him and Robby just punches up at him straight forward and hits him. I'm not saying that would have just been the case, but there's still an argument for it. So people acting like it's definitively Hawk would have won right there is not the case. That isn't really true. Also, another problem that people don't realize is this is a 3-point based system, and a lot of people don't understand that we understand that, you have to get 3 full-on contact strikes. The only ones they don't count is if it's blocked or if it's a shove. Like if you shove somebody off. Like we see this later on with Hawk. He shoves off Robby when he's holding him. He shoves him off on his arm, which wasn't a kick, so it wasn't a score, but it was like a shove. Okay. So that one, I understand that. But besides that, when you do get hit, if you don't block or if it's not, the attack wasn't a shove or whatever, it will consider it as a point. So just getting 3 points of that. But if you actually rewatch the fight as I did, I watched the clip, they were actually tied 1-1 by the end of that round. So actually, technically, even if, let's say, for argumentative sake that, Hawk did get the strike and hit him, technically he wouldn't have won still, because he would have need 3 points to win. He would have only gotten a second point. Yes, he would have gotten an advantage. He would have gotten a leg up above, Robby, but that doesn't mean that he would have definitively won the fight. It just means he would have had a better opportunity of just ending that fight. But yeah, I feel like a lot of people, when they say that, it's kind of an excuse to be like, because people were talking about how, Robby could have hit Hawk on the ground. He was laying down on the ground. He could have struck him there, but he hesitated, and because of that, he took the advantage of that and won. And people say that. I guess also you can argue. Some people might argue that if there was the time limit and the time limit ran out and he hit him, he would have got the second strike. But once again, like I said, it isn't definitive that he would have. And if you're trying to make that argument, that would have been fine. But the problem is, I've seen people argue that about the time limit itself. They're saying there shouldn't have been a time limit, or like if there wasn't a time limit. So I was like, well, if there wasn't a time limit, then he wouldn't have won by that strike anyway. He would have just had the leg up in the fight. So yeah, there's a lot of discrepancy when it comes to that, and I feel like a lot of people are just misconstruing the information. So yeah, they were tied 1-1. Even if he did get the strike, which I'm not saying that he would have definitively got a strike or not, but even if he did, in the end of the day, it would have still been 2-1, and it wouldn't have given him the win. It wouldn't need to go up to 3. And also, like I said, Robby did have a perfect vantage point in the second round. Whether or not, you like the idea, the concept of the time limit, which I'll be honest, I personally didn't like it. I felt like it was a cheap way to do it. They could have just had them going back and forth and ended there, because we've never seen it before. And to be honest, the fact that they're making it sound like just they made it sound like a 3-minute round was like more than enough. Like, because they said this is the first time they went to like overtime. It's like, well, 3 minutes, to be honest, isn't that much of time, even if it's just to get 3 points. It's like, I'm surprised that this is the first time they've had it. But yeah, I don't like that, but they put it in there anyway, and we're making an argument based off that. And also, if you think about it logically, they both, since they joined the tournament, they should both know the rules of the tournament, and they should have known that there was a 3-minute time limit anyway. So like if you watch boxing or MMA, even if the guy could have finished it, the guy doesn't say, well, if only there was more time or stuff like that. They're just like, well, the time ran out, because you have to accept it. If you knew the time, you should have been more cautious of it. So even then, it was still would have, even if you could have said that for an argument for Hawk, that would still have been Hawk's fault for not checking the time when it was going to end. So yeah, I don't agree with that. And then the final one where he took him out with the foot thing, I do see that, because obviously, it's supposed to be the sudden death. But there is one problem with it I saw in the end scene. When him and Robby are going back and forth, Robby, I think he does like a sidekick. I think Hawk does a sidekick, and Robby circles around him and elbows him down on his like thigh muscle, like his leg, and you even see him like holding it in pain a little. You can see it's a little bit sore after the elbow. He holds it, and then the ref yells out "no point," which to me did not make sense. Every other time when they said "no point," it made sense. It was it was simply because the character was blocking or the person, did some like type of shove. But the fact that it was a full-on contact right there and he said no point is kind of BS. I don't know if it was the show writers, missing that or just not understanding. But yeah, that makes no sense. That would have definitely been a point. I don't know how you're gonna try to change or tell me that it isn't. If any of you guys disagree with me, because I do have the, a little bit of the clip of him elbowing him right there, and well, I'll try to put the clip in if this video doesn't get like copyright claim for it. But yeah, I'll try to show you. You can clearly see that he elbows him right in the leg, and there was no block or anything. So I don't get where the logic comes from that not being a point. I don't know why the ref would say that's not a point. That was definitively a point. He literally elbowed him right in the thigh muscle. Like, what constituted that not being a point? I want to have like an actual explanation. But then again, I feel like this tournament, there is a lot of problems with the rules because people keep on talking about how Daniel won with an illegal move by kicking to the face, and they say, well, in real contact karate you can't do that. But then again, in also full contact karate, you also have protective gear around you. You're not doing bare knuckled and with that protective gear, and there's a lot of stuff, other rules that they have, because that one you're supposed to be doing karate, and this one some people were doing capoeira and other like martial arts. So yeah, the rules in the Cobra Kai universe or the Karate Kid universe is not like our universe when it comes to the rules in that regard. And also we've seen people say, and I know it sounds like this has nothing to do with it, but this is specifically talking about the rules and how kind of wacky they are, and they don't really make much sense because Johnny said that his face, the kick to the face was an illegal move, but they saw it clear as day and they didn't call it. And then Miguel does it. Also, he didn't get in trouble. And there's countless times throughout the tournament, in the original movie and in the show, that you see the background characters getting hit directly in the face, and it's not an illegal move. Even with Robby literally kicked the shit out of Kenny right in the face. By that logic, that should have been like a no point or whatever. But yeah, it just shows that the rules are not very realistic. If they were, that elbow would have counted as a point and Robby would have won. So yeah, that argument that Hawk would have won is kind of null and void. But then again, like I said, the writers were tending to make Robby win, but then they changed up last minute to make Hawk win. So people saying definitively Hawk is stronger. It isn't realistic. It isn't true. Even Johnny stated like, yeah, it could have gone either way. Like, definitely it could have gone either way in that situation. And this is why I feel like the full contact karate, even though it's a tournament and stuff and it shows off people's skills, it does not correlate to an actual fight. And I'll get into that. And also the kind of hypocrisy about Hawk winning this and people saying, yeah, this makes sense, when another event happened with Hawk that people are like, oh, this is BS that this happened. So I'm going to get into that. But first, I'm going to get into the full contact karate argument. Just because a certain character wins a tournament does not mean that character is stronger than that other said character. Now, that does not mean that they definitively are not, just because, because for me, it's, people see it as, if the person won the tournament, that definitely means that this character is stronger than that character. That's not the case. When you're in street rules, there's differences, and I'll explain to why. But also, I'm not saying that just because that other person won that means I don't think that they're stronger. They still could be. Just because Robby, just because I don't think the tournament style of fighting doesn't correlate well to a street fight, does not mean I don't think that Miguel would have been stronger than Robby in general. It's just that using that as an argument is kind of a moot point and doesn't really make much sense. So let me get to why it isn't. In real street fights, first of all, there's no rules. Second of all, the 3-point system is the biggest problem when it comes to, evaluating somebody's strength. Because in a real fight, you're not going based off of how many strikes. Well, strikes in general, like, in sports, you're not going by strikes in general, but also you're not going by a set number of it. Because in this tournament, there's 3 hits you're allowed to get, especially in a block, and that's how you, without them blocking, and that's how you get a win. But in a street fight, or like how they did it outside, there's no 3 points, so that doesn't really make much sense to be like, yeah, they're stronger. Yeah, he might have beaten with 3 points, but that doesn't mean he physically destroyed, Robby to the point where he could barely move. Robby walked up and walked out of it like nothing. He still felt some damage from it, obviously, but it was not like he was severely hurt. So you try and use that as an argument, like, well, this character won the tournament, so that means they're stronger than that character. It doesn't make much sense because, like I said, for one, there's rules, so there's some stuff they can't do. And when I mean like street fight, I'm not talking about like using weapons or having multiple people attack or groin shots or something like that. I just mean that you can be more vicious, where in the tournament they're like, no, you can't do this, you can't do that. Like, you know what Tori did to Sam, elbowing in the head? They're like, that's illegal. But in a real fight, especially what they've done with the whole school stuff, that wouldn't matter. They would be allowed to do it, so there would have been more room for aggression. And two, the whole point style also kind of really hinders the fight, and it really does not showcase a realistic aspect of a fight. Because you're in a fight, if a person hits you 3 times clean, you're not gonna be like, well, I guess you won, you hit me the 3 times. That's not how it works. They have to literally beat you or knock you out or beat you into submission, which is not shown in the tournament. So yeah, I don't consider that as making Hawk stronger than Robby. He could be strong as him, but I'm just saying, if you're going to use that as definitive reasoning or proof that, you know, Hawk is stronger than Robby, I think it's really stupid. Because if you know anything about fighting, you know that using contact karate is not very realistic to fight. Just because somebody is dominant in contact karate doesn't mean they're going to be super strong in a real fight. It might have some implications to it, but not 100% definitive proof that that's the case. So yeah, using that, I do not like when people use that, like, well, he lost to him, so that means he's above him in the ranking. It may be in a tournament style based, yeah, but let's say if they go into a full-on fight, I think there's going to be, that discussion is a lot different. If you're going to argue that, that doesn't really make much sense. Also, it's kind of ironic to me that people are saying that it makes sense that Hawk beat him, but didn't Robby knock out Hawk in season 2 when they were fighting? And this was like no rules and stuff. They were fighting, he knocked him out. So yeah, that's more impressive to actually knock somebody out in a street fight than to beat somebody in a tournament with 3 points. That just doesn't really mean much. And I know some people say, well, that was in season 2, but not that much time had passed anyway. So I mean, if you look season 2 from season 4, that might sound like a lot, but from their time in the chronology of like the show, it isn't that much time that passed. It was like probably a couple of months, which could, you know, implicate different changes in power, but still. That also, it's like people were mad that Dimitri beat a Hawk, because they're like, how can he beat him? Dimitri was getting his ass kicked all the time. He was weak. He just trained for a bit and he beat him. This is so unrealistic. And okay, I can see that point, though. I do think it's a little different due to the fact that Hawk was getting hit by multiple people while Dimitri was hiding, so Hawk was probably very tired and damaged. And him throwing into the case wasn't, you know, Dimitri's physically hitting him. It was just that Hawk got smashed into, like, you know, a cabinet. Obviously, he would get knocked out from that. But yeah, they say that's ridiculous. Okay, that's fair. But then they want to turn around and say it makes sense that he can beat him. So you're telling me this guy lost to Dimitri, lost to Robby before, but you think he can definitively beat Robby now, and especially in a street fight? Yeah, not very realistic in my eyes. That aspect is just kind of ridiculous, if I'm being honest. So yeah, that's all I have for this video and this analysis. The whole point of this video wasn't to be saying, oh, Hawk would have lost. It's just the people that are making it sound like Robby definitively lost and Hawk obviously had the win and this and that, and make those arguments. I just want to point out that if you actually look at it and analyze it, you'll realize that that's not the case. And especially if you're going to try to argue that in a real fight, if they were to go against each other, that would definitively mean that, you know, Hawk would be Robby. Not saying that he wouldn't, but just saying that using that as an argument is kind of dumb. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Go check out my other video of, you know, of the Cobra Kai series. I don't know if I should make a Cobra Kai playlist. I'll probably make a Cobra Kai playlist in the future, but for right now, check my you know, debunking playlist. So yeah, go check them both out. And I don't know if I'm gonna be making another video today. This probably might be my only video for today, but yeah, see you tomorrow.